What's up, everybody? Renfail here. Today's patch for July 7th is a massive patch for PvE players, solo players, and small guilds. There are some pretty big changes to the Deep Desert and the Landsraad in today's patch. Even though it's not necessarily the most large patch size-wise, it is in terms of the content. So let's dive in and see what's on the table for this week. We're looking forward to this, by the way, because our guild is a small guild. Yesterday, we actually took our small guild and divided it into two. We have about half of our players declaring for Harkonnen, and the other half are declaring for Atreides. I'm on the Atreides side where the cool kids are. And we're looking forward to finally being able to contribute as a group of friends on either side of the equation to the Landsraad. And these changes came in perfect time for our small guild of players. So let's get into the changes. And I got to get done with this so I can go get my coffee. It's early. So let's see here. First and foremost, Tier 6 resources can now be collected across wider areas in the PvE part of the Deep Desert. And this is something I said last week when we did the video on the myth of people who are node camping, which is not a real thing. The density and all of those things are things that get balanced over time. If you've ever played a live service game, this is like the 50th time I've ever seen this type of thing happen in a live service game when it goes live. There's always adjustments to spawn location, spawn times, spawn densities. Normal change for a live service game. So more tier 6 nodes for those of us in the PvE section of the desert. Yeah, buddy. Never a bad thing. Beyond that, we've added an element of randomization to the respawn timer of unique loot containers in the Deep Desert. Speaking of loot containers, the Plastinium tier crafting components were split up to drop based on the content location. Imperial testing stations, caves, or shipwrecks, which each of them dropping their own selection of components. Fallen shipwrecks and buried treasures can drop components from any location. So it sounds to me like they've taken that concept of specific items drop in specific locations, but then shipwrecks and treasures can drop components from any of those locations, which is cool if you want to take the additional risk to go out there and look for buried treasure and fallen shipwrecks. Added a chance of a different selection of uniques to drop in the PvE loot in the Deep Desert. That's going to be good for those of us like I do the Imperial testing station run every single week. Or every single day, I should say. So I usually run like what 5, 6 PVE testing stations solo every single day at the start of my stream and get schematics and loot. So that'll be cool to see more variation to that. Spawn rate of medium fields increased from 5 back to 8, and the small spice fields have increased from 22 to 30. So they're balancing that again. The delay for leaving a PvP security zone increased from 5 to 30 seconds to prevent border camping and allow PvP players to protect the area. And this is the first of the big changes to the Landsraad, which small guilds like us have been waiting for. Also huge news for solo players. So changed the Landsraad tasks to now allow kill and delivery contribution to happen after a task has been completed, but awarding only personal contribution, i.e., which faction won and how many guild votes were awarded are unaffected by contributions made after a task was completed by one faction. But this is a big deal for a lot of people who are like, but I work. I can't log in. My guild or myself, we can't claim these things before they take place. We want to be able to contribute, but there are guilds who literally will camp them and have like resources on hand and they will immediately finish them, or they can do the kill quests before I can because I don't get home until 7 o'clock at night because of work or whatever reason, and they're doing them by like noon. I can't contribute. This isn't fair. That has now been solved. So it doesn't matter when you log in now, you can still contribute to the kill quests and the um, delivery quests. Um, but understand that the faction and guild contribution part of it to earn votes, that's all still based on first come first serve. But for personal contribution, that's the big thing. Earning points from contributing to a Landsraad task to earn Solari, swatches, weapons, things of that nature. You can now do that regardless of when the task has been claimed or when the task has been completed. So that's probably, apart from the tier 6 nodes being, having their respawn or having their node density increased, that's probably the biggest change to this week's um, patch for those of us who are small guilds and solo players, because now we all have a chance to still continue to contribute to the Landsrad for personal contribution, even if someone else is able to get there first and get it for the voting side of things. So that's a good change. I'm sure we'll continue to see tweaks because we still haven't seen them add the solo and small group content to the Landsrad. I'm looking forward to that. Along with everybody else to see what's going to be out there for folks like me, because our guild is small. I think we were talking yesterday. We had 22 people who are now going to be split between two guilds. So we're never going to be out there competing with the big mega guilds. So we're really looking forward to the small group content and the solo content because a lot of us play solo and just get together on the weekends. But be that as it may, that is probably the biggest change to this week's patch. Also, some game stability increases and some bug fixes, but really, this stuff right here for the Deep Desert in-game and Landsraad, that's what we've all been waiting for is more balance to that. So I'm looking forward to getting back into this. So stay tuned for more daily streams happen around 4:35 a.m. Central on YouTube and Twitch. We're also streaming to the Steam page for Dune Awakening. Thanks to Funcom for that. I look forward to seeing everybody in-game in the next one. And of course, don't forget all the other stuff that happens here on the channel. So we'll see you then. Stay tuned, stay safe, and don't get bit by the worm.